Well, thank you very much, Steve, for that introduction. I wear it as a badge of honour that Schultz totally hates me. Let's start with a number. Let's start with the number 72. Is it your lucky number? I seriously hope it's not. 1972, of course, was the year that we signed the European Communities Act 1972. So it's not very good in that respect. I suppose let's hope that 16 is a little bit better. But it's also 72 is the number of times that the United Kingdom has dug its heels in and said in the Council of Ministers, we're going to vote no to what the European Union is planning to do. And every single one of those 72 times, we've been outvoted, we've lost, and the measure has become law anyway. Imagine you're a football team and you'd lost your last 72 games in a row. You would be thinking of sacking your manager, wouldn't you? Now, I'm not saying that all 72 of those have been under Cameron, but 40 have, which is more than every other Prime Minister put together. And those laws have cost our economy an estimated £2.3 billion. We're outvoted more than any other country in the EU. So forgive me if I don't trust a word that David Cameron says. There are many threats coming down the track from the European Union. There's a financial transaction tax to cripple the city, a common corporate consolidated tax base, that was always a tongue twister, to make sure that never again a British business is going to be competitive in a global economy if they have their way. But the one that the average person on the street will understand the most, VAT. VAT on children's clothes, VAT on medicines, VAT on food. That's the proposal. That's what unelected Commissioner Pierre Moscovici is trying to force on us. So, you've lost 72 games in a row. You've been relegated from the Premier League. You've been relegated from the Championship. You're sitting at the bottom of League One. And you're trying to tell your supporters that you can guarantee you're going to win your next match. And you expect the fans to turn up to the match, cheer you on, and be absolutely certain that you're going to win this one, are you, Mr. Cameron? I put it to you, Mr. Cameron, that you are selling the British people snake oil. I put it to you that when Pierre Moscovici, the unelected commissioner, says that they're going to reassess everything, when he says zero rate is not the best idea, when he says the Commission is committed to reviewing VAT rules and putting in place a definitive regime, I put it to you that he's telling the truth. The Commission aren't hiding what they want to do to Britain. They're upfront about it. And whatever I think about them, they say plainly what they want to do to this country. The European Union operates on what's called a ratchet principle. Now, a ratchet, much like the European Union, is a mechanical device that only allows movement in one direction. Pretty apt, isn't it, for the EU? Mechanical, and it only goes one way, towards a superstate. So because of the ratchet principle, we can increase tax on petrol, but we can't decrease it. We can authorise Brussels to pass a law, but we can't repeal it. We can have an opt-out, but the moment we give it up, we can never get it back. So, if you can trust the Tories not to give more power to Brussels, and you can't, it doesn't matter if you don't think you can trust Labour. And if you can think that you trust Labour, That doesn't matter unless you trust the Conservatives as well. It only takes one future Prime Minister that you can't trust, and every deal, every opt-out, every veto is off the table. Wilson tried to give power to Brussels. Heath gave away power to Brussels. Wilson gave away some more power to Brussels. Thatcher gave away power to Brussels. Are we spotting the common theme here? Major, Blair, Brown, Cameron, they all gave away more power to Brussels, and yet they try to tell us that somehow, when every Prime Minister's done it, that somehow, this time, they won't. That every Prime Minister ever has done it, but no future Prime Minister ever will. So do you trust David Cameron to fight the European Union on VAT? The same David Cameron who came back to Britain in 2011 talking tough, but it turned out to be a phantom veto on a phantom treaty. We've given away 52 vetoes already. We've weakened 10 others. They're dropping like flies. French President Hollande is saying no country must have a right of veto. No country must exempt itself from the common rules or common authorities. Angela Merkel is saying, we believe, and I'm speaking for the entire German government, that we can move on with this by giving Europe real rights of intervention in national budgets. However much I disagree with her, Angela Merkel's a more skilled politician than David Cameron. And what about the next Prime Minister? Do we trust them too? Well, if it's Nigel Farage, then yes, I'll trust him. But what if it's Jeremy Corbyn? Do you think the man who'd have surrendered to the RA, the man who'd have surrendered to Argentina, the man who wants to surrender our deterrent, would be the one to stand up to Brussels? I think he'd wave the white flag there too. There's certainly a flag I want to wave, and it's not a white flag, ladies and gentlemen. It's the Union flag. You think we're going to stave this off? Then you need to trust Cameron and trust Corbyn. I don't think there's many people in the country who'll do that. VAT on medicine, children's clothes, food. Think about it. They want to tax children. They want to tax you for being sick. And they want to tax the poorest people by taxing food. Can you imagine a more unfair tax, ladies and gentlemen? Well, they're not going to get it through in 2016. But if we vote to stay in the EU, what odds would you give that this will happen in the next 5 years? That's the problem, ladies and gentlemen. So I want to leave. I'll work with good, honest Labour Party people. People like Kate Hoy, people like Frank Field. I'll even work with Conservatives. Do you know what? I'd work with Greens like Jenny Jones. I'd work with anyone for this cause, which is about so much more than personalities. Let's get our future back, whoever we have to work with to do it. Not in Westminster, not in Brussels or Strasbourg, but in the communities up and down this land, in the grassroots of Britain. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.